Well, Slayer the Alchemist. All right. Well, I just went to my first no cell phones allowed show. I saw Ghost a couple days ago. Just made a video, my 10 favorite Ghost songs. I thought I would talk about the whole no cell phone thing. Now, the way this worked, because there was a lot of confusion leading up to it, I saw local people posting online. And what you did was, is after you went through the normal security check thing, there was somebody there that had these little light pouches. You couldn't see into the pouches. They're like little yellow bag things. You put your phone in there. There was some sort of magnetic lock on it. This was at Amalie Arena, which is the hockey arena here in Tampa. In the breezeway, you could go out, and there were people there that could open it up for you if you needed to do something with your phone. Now, I should preface this by saying I'm somebody who doesn't particularly like my phone. I use it for music and podcasts. Outside of that, it annoys me. I will often leave my phone at home when I go out with my wife. I try to minimize the amount of time I spend on my phone. I feel like I spend too much time on my phone. So this was sort of a welcome thing for me. It wasn't a difficult. In fact, I didn't even bring my phone. I just left my phone at home. My wife brought hers because she had the tickets on her phone and everything, so we had to bring hers. Went with a couple other people. They all brought their phones. But it was what was cool about it was when you were sitting there, like before the show started, there were no openers for this show, and they only let people in a little over an hour before the show started. And putting the phones in the bags and everything, I mean, it was super easy. My wife just see it, bag, put it in, click, and that was it. You just walked through. It was interesting because you're so used to when you're out in public. Like when we were sitting waiting for Ghost to start, I think I said there were no opening bands. It was so strange to look around and just see everybody sitting there talking to each other. I mean, what a strange thing. You know, I've been on this weird kick lately, going on YouTube and watching these videos of like 1988 senior year at some high school that somebody took videos of. I guess there were high schools that did video yearbooks. My school didn't do that. And one thing for, it's nostalgic, right? I see all these kids with 80s haircuts and stuff like that. And there's always an 80s soundtrack to these things. But what always strikes me is I just see groups of kids sitting around laughing and talking. And when you think about it, you go out anymore and everybody's on a phone, or even when people are out, it's very rare that you see groups of people just standing around talking, unless they're like older people that, even older than my age, like people that really never grew up or embraced cell phones. So at the show, before the show started, it was really interesting and almost strange, which is crazy to say this, but strange to see people just sitting there talking. And then when the show started, you didn't have your usual everybody with their phone up in the air and all that stuff. And it just seemed like people were way more engaged in the show. Maybe it was just me. I know personally I was. I don't have a watch either. So I was not aware of what time it was or how far we were into the show. That kind of made the show almost like go quicker in a lot of ways. But it just like looking around, like normally during a show, there's always people just sitting there staring at their phones, and you're kind of like, why did you even come to the show? But people were just sitting there enjoying the show, and it seems bizarre, but that's the way it used to be for so many years. And what's funny is there's a local free newspaper here in Tampa called Creative Loafing. Every town has one of these, right? It's got like local articles and upcoming things and stuff like that, like a free newspaper you can get at record stores and coffee shops. And they have a Facebook page, and they posted about the Ghost show that it was a no cell phone thing. And of course, all these people that aren't going to the Ghost show, I would never do that. Nobody's telling me I can't bring my phone or do what I want with my phone and everything. Well, guess what? It was a sold out arena. All those people were fine with it. All those people survived. The show was, I think, 2 hours long. If you, let's say 2.5 hours altogether, people managed to live for 2.5 hours. They got by without having to stare at their phones. So personally, I loved it because it almost had more of like everybody's there in the moment together type of thing. And then when the show was over, outside of Amalie Arena, there's this big area outside the entrance. They call it Thunder Alley, where they, before Lightning games, there's a big screens out there. There's a bar out there. There's a little stage out there. So when you walked out of the arena into Thunder Alley, there were all these people standing around with little sign. They were holding up these little signs, and you just went over, and they had this little magnetic thing in your hand. You just held your thing over it. There was a big box. You would take your phone out through your pouch thing into the box, and you were on your way. I mean, it really couldn't have been. I don't think it could have been any easier than the way they had it set up. So I personally, I loved it. I wish it makes me realize, like, even just with my wife, like, typically we'd be sitting there and both of us would be on our phones, looking at our phones. And what do we do for the 45 minutes, the hour before the show started? We were sitting there talking and laughing and having a good time. And it sort of made us both realize, like, how enjoyable it was to not always have our phones there with us. So, all right, that was my experience with the no phone show. I can understand how it could make people anxious. Like, there was somebody in my group that had to pull out because he has a business that he was having like an emergency at his business, and he just needed to be able to answer his phone if he got a text message, to be able to step out. Now, you could step out at any point and open up the bag, but he really needed to, like, if he got buzzed or beeped, he needed to have his phone ready to go. So I understand that, and there are some people that have medical things with their phones but you could apparently get an exemption if you have a medical reason why you have to have access to your phone. But I just thought it was super cool. It really put you in the moment of the show. It really kind of threw me back a little bit and made me realize, like, man, this is how we used to live our lives. Like, we would go out in public with our friends and we just sat there and talked. Nobody stared at their phones. When you went to concerts, everybody was just there in the moment. Their minds weren't somewhere else. So I loved it. I thought it was great. Let me know if you have any experience with no cell phone shows. Did they do it the same way? Did they do it differently? These bag things were called something like LODA, LODA, or something like that. How about, if you've never done it, would you do it after me describing it here? Or would you go to a no cell phone show? How would you feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Do we see you again? Make sure you rock hard, free.